Hello. This is the Rant-A-Way Podcast, where we don't talk about our favorite things. We rant away about them. I have my co-host and a random Jeep car battery going off in the background, so please excuse that. Money Green, what is up?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I can't say I'm tired because I said that last week or whatever week it was that we did this. But I'm uber tired. How are you?
Oh no.
Oh yes.
I'm doing pretty good. I got most of my stuff done for Sunday out of the way, so I'm good.
Okay. Well, guys, we might be doing some changes of our schedules. How does Saturday releases sound to you guys? And it'd be at this part of the premiere where people would be spamming a lot of emotes and being like, "No, say it ain't so." And I know, with a heavy heart, some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make. But no, we might have some premiere releases switched around just because I'm working nights now, so trying to do something at 12 in the morning when I get home at 7, 8 o'clock probably is not the best for someone's health. So we're gonna be workshopping that, but you guys won't have to worry about that. You guys will just be there for the end result while Money and I figure out all the hard work. Sounds good? Very good. Now, with all that being said, Money Green was very excitable on the phone this week. Wanted to show me some things about shadows and credence and other video game hijinks. Money Green, is this true?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, this week is the not week. Sorry, excuse me. This month is the one episode. So I mean, we try to do like last one was about Valentine's Day in March. About love and other topics, relationships or whatever. And then you try to have like a fun episode or like like not fun. Oh yeah, fun, but like more loose structured like episode, lighter topics or whatever. So I think this one is just gonna be like more a casual, I should say. This one's gonna be a bit more casual than the last one. But yeah, I didn't know exactly where I was gonna go with this, and I was sitting up there trying to figure it out, and then yeah, I stumbled on the video for Assassin's Creed Shadows, the game that just came out, and then it was like, oh, okay, I kind of got what we can do this month because I think, like I said to you, we're in April, so May kind of has to be maybe something a bit more you know structured or serious or whatever. Then June and July will probably be about all of the movies coming out in July or that came out in July. Um, Probably some
And then that's our season
previews
finale.
of.
We're done.
No. Well, I don't think so. I mean, unless you want to, we don't have commit. Well, I shouldn't say that. That makes us sound very irresponsible. But we're not like locked into anything. So yeah, I mean, if you're ready to pull the plug on the people and the people will go with that, then you can. But no, it's just we got to we got all the movies in July, so we can talk about what we think about them going in. And then in July, we can talk about, what we've seen so far. I think Jurassic World is like in the first week. I know Superman's not far after that, and then Fantastic Four is not far after that. So,
Are we seeing
yeah.
Fantastic Four, or are we just sticking to the other two?
We could do Fantastic Four too. I mean, I think I'm probably gonna have to see all of these movies like 2, 3 times personally. So it's all good with me. If you wanna, we can.
Oh, Lord.
I know my yeah, I know my homeboy wants to see Fantastic Four. I know I got Superman with you, and I'm gonna try to get my mother. So she's gonna kick and scratch and claw to try to not go. Jurassic World with you and a special guest, and yeah. So, and I think my mother might want to go see that. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, no, I'm sure I got to see all of these like a couple times. So I
Okay.
don't. I'm good.
Okay. All right.
So yeah,
Sounds like a plan.
that's the schedule. That's the the format laid out for everybody who's interested in that stuff. Sorry to Marcell on whatever day that's gonna edit this. It's gonna be like, Bernard, will you just get to the point? Get
No,
to the
please,
topic
by all
already.
means. I'm gonna throw it in there,
But
press play, and then export.
but before we get to that, just real quick, Why don't you tell the people what you're up to on like stream and what have you been playing, what have you been watching, what have you
Um,
watched or whatever.
so in terms of things that I'm watching, I finished Invincible season 3. I'm trying to get that started with my dad. We're supposed to be doing this, hopefully, Lord willing, next Friday at 6. I got to catch him up on the special season 2 and season 3. Um, I've been watching Solo Leveling with my missus because she's holding me hostage to watch this show. Um, I think as a tit for tat, I might try to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender with her because she said she's never seen it. But I don't know because there's just all these other things happening. Stream wise, streams are good. To all the inclined, we are doing 6 to 8 now, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday instead of 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. on Thursdays and Sundays for all you very very late night owls. And the 6 to 8s aren't too bad. I do that first and then I go to work. So I don't know, the fact that it's flipped around, it's a nice change of pace. The only sucky thing about like stream then work at nighttime is that there are so many cockroaches just chilling about in the nighttime, and I've had a run in with 2 now. So forgive me if I'm on edge for things that move in the dark in the corner of my eye. But
Are these real cockroaches or are these like figurative
no,
people?
no,
Or...
these are like legitimate Fat A Class S DEFCON 1 cockroaches. They are huge.
Oh,
I'm not kidding. I'm literally gonna buy a can of Raid before I go into work tonight. And one of my coworkers is doing a double right now. God bless her heart. There is a cockroach that I entrapped underneath that fan, so it's still there probably on its back, but the fact that it's in my vicinity, it can really stress a man out. So that was that. For games, well, this is a filler week for streams for me, so it's not anything crazy. Maybe like some Yakuza mini games. Attack on Titan today. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel because I did the Blue Eyes structure deck or structured decks, and then I put it into Master Duel. I've been having fun with that. So I'm gonna take that out for a test drive in the SP challenges this week. Might make it a YouTube video, might not. I'm on the fence about it because there's other things that I want to upload. And then let's see, any new games? I started Guardians of the Galaxy. That's okay so far. I'm loving that.
oh, nice. Nice, nice,
Kena
nice.
Bridge of Spirits. That one's pretty good. I'm almost done with Kenzera. Stellar Blade's cool still. A Quiet Place. Yeah, I'm definitely in the hole, but it's a good hole. Yeah. I was thinking about sneaking not the Batman Arkham games, but the Telltale ones because they're so like on the rails. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know like where I would throw that in. I don't know if it would be like a summer thing or November. And I only started thinking about it is because my big brother wanted us to watch this Devil May Cry show that came out on Netflix, which I don't really know much about Devil May Cry because I'm on the side of Bayonetta. That's where I come from, but they're more or less the same ilk of characters where they're super cool, they're super sexy, and they get stuff done with their big Berettas. And one of the characters in Devil May Cry is voiced by the late great Kevin Conroy. So that kind of
Oh,
had me thinking about like, oh, I haven't done a Batman game on stream, and it would be fun to do it. And I kind of want to just watch the walkthroughs of the ones that are on the PS3, and then just jump right into the one that was on the PS4. But I feel like that's cheating.
Arkham Knight.
Yeah, so I was like, I might just do the Telltale ones and see how well it holds up, or if I do different decisions and stuff like that, or throw it to chat type of thing. Um, so yeah, that is everything that is going on that I can remember off of 3-ish hours of sleep. Yes.
Well, something about the Batman, but I'll talk to you about that off air or whatever. But okay, all right. So that's what's going on. You can find Pandorum at Pandorum_X on Twitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Twitch.tv/Pandorum_X. PANDORUM_X. So that's your free plug.
If you guys see a link tree link, just click it. Just click it. I know you
Yeah,
can.
well,
Just click it.
I think it's linked to the YouTube channel too, right?
It's
Like,
linked. It's linked to everything, guys. If you want the keys to
yeah,
the kingdom, the power of it all, it is there for you. Yes.
yeah. So it's all over there. So good. All right. So then, all right. Let me get this shot clock started because we gotta have some type of time. We're not gonna jump right into the meaty topic pause, but yeah, I did wanna pick your brain on something. So before we jump into what I want to talk about, we know that we probably won't get to talk about this specific thing until it comes time for it. Everybody's talking about it lately. Grand Theft Auto 6.
Okay.
Do you think that it is coming out this year, or it's slated right now? It's slated for a fall release this year. Do you think it's gonna make that or not? Because we haven't heard anything
Uh,
about it since we got the trailer. What, 2 years ago? Well, yeah, like a year or two ago.
was it? I think it was might have been a year ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago. Wow, time is
I think
flying.
somebody was saying like 2 years ago.
Honestly, I don't know if it releases this year, like in the fall or the summertime. If it goes in the summertime, nobody's going outside. That's for sure. Um, whether it releases this year or next year, I know a lot of other games surrounding it are either going to be in its shadow and never see the light of day in terms of being successful, or they're going to get out of its way because it's a warpath, and it is so overtly anticipated that it just shakes the bedrock of everything around it, for better and for worse. But as far as its release date goes, I don't know. I don't keep my eye on it. I don't know if I'm going to get it day one. I don't know if I'm going to get it on day 100. Could be fall. I don't know. Like who's to say? Who's to say? It's Rockstar. It's
If I
Rockstar.
had to put my money on it, I say personally 2026. Um, somebody I was watching a video. Somebody was saying a lot of AAA games do go through what you call it, delays these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I agree with that. First of all, I mean, and Rockstar is the type. Other than the whole, what is it called, the definitive edition, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
debacle. They're the type that really make sure that their product is ready to go before it's like released or whatever. They got plans and they don't usually do anything for nothing, even though, Take Two. I don't know how much of that is like, the Hauser brothers and stuff that made sure everything was on point, or now that Take Two is getting more involved, that things are going to end up going sideways. But everybody's waiting for this game, and actually, funnily enough, everybody, I think we talked about this before. Everybody was waiting for Rockstar to kind of get it started with the new price of games, and then Nintendo threw their hat in the ring. Nintendo threw their
Yeah,
hat in the
yeah, yeah,
ring
yeah.
with
I
the
did. I did see
release
that.
with the release of the Switch 2. That's funny because I told you we had the conversation about the Assassin's Creed Shadow thing, which is gonna leapfrog into the main thing later.
Mm-hmm.
And then I seen the release on the Switch 2, which personally I don't care about the Switch. Me personally, I got a Switch for my mother. Shout out to my mom. She listens to these sometimes.
Well,
Um,
you dissed the Switch so hard that car outside just started going off.
yeah, I mean, I don't. Me personally, I don't. But I got her one, and it's currently collecting dust. So I mean, I don't have any real, strong positive feelings towards the Switch. But the Switch 2's coming out, and I think I got hers for like either 250. Yeah, I think it was like 250. It might have been like 300.
Okay.
And I had a Switch 2's coming out for like 500 on release, and then like almost 600 if you want like a bundle with the console, the Joy Cons, and some other crap I don't know. And their games they put out, I think it's a Mario, is it Mario game or Mario Kart, and something else that's supposed to be based, like the standard edition is like $80 for the digital and $90 for the physical. And I was like, I gotta get your opinion on that because you're a physical edition guy. So, what do you think about them charging more for the physical edition and for the base start off at $80.
If I remember correctly, does the Switch come with cartridges, or do they just, like, if you open up the box to a Nintendo Switch game, is it an actual cartridge, or is it just a cartridge that has like enough space to hold the license to it, and then you have to download the rest through the Nintendo shop or whatever online servers?
I believe they come with actually let me check. I believe they come with cartridges, like little small cartridges that you
Mm-hmm.
can put into the game. But
Okay.
you might have my TV. Hold on 1 second. Um, I don't know what she switched to either. All right, so I can't check right now.
All
But
right, that's fine. So yeah, that's just something that popped into my mind because I don't remember there. I mean, I'm sure there is a spot where you can like slot the cartridge in, but
yeah, I
so
think so. I think I remember there being something like that. Yeah.
so 90 for physical, 80 for digital. I don't remember where I heard this, but I remember them trying to propose this defense that, you know, because digital's better because it uses less resources and it's more inexpensive when it's all said and done. So like the whole through line is that because you're using less resources to give this product to someone, it shouldn't be as high. But $80 for the standard for a digital game is still crazy. And then not to
Yeah.
mention it's on the Switch, which already has average specs at best. And between like the Marios, the Kirbys, the Zeldas, yeah, all their games that they're known for, those party games, those Nintendo only games, it's like people have already seen that before, you know. It's kind of like, I think those prices can only be justified if it's actually a new IP that's coming from that particular company. For like something like a Grand Theft Auto should not be $100 or whatever they think the price is going to be, whether that's for standard or Uber Deluxe edition, etc. Because we already have the plan of what a Grand Theft Auto game comes with, right? So it's not like we're really seeing anything new. We're just seeing certain things moved around in different orders for a different desired effect. And Nintendo, to me, does not make $80-$90 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes sense.
I agree. I
Because
agree. I mean, I don't want to be the one to say that because I know some people go crazy, but I mean, I haven't. The only thing I really play from Nintendo, other than like the Wii stuff and like Mario Kart every now and again, was the Pokemon games, and I haven't played a Pokemon game since
right, but all Pokemon games
Emerald.
at the end of the day do the same thing. You pick your
Yeah, they follow the
starters,
same
you go
format.
on an adventure,
Hmm.
you pick your you fight your gym battles and you strive to be at the top of the Hall of Fame. Right now I'm sure certain names have changed and they've added more Pokemon to buffer the objectives of the games of old, but at the end of the day, under the hood, Pokemon is still kind of the same. They're still releasing two copies of the same game with different Pokemon on the front to make you think that it's actually something varied. It's not really. It's just, oh, this is Pokemon left, this is Pokemon right. But they all kind of do the same thing at the end of the day. They all follow the same parallel path, a few pit stops here and there, but ultimately, whether you get black, white, male, female Pokemon, it's the same at the end of the day. This is kind of reminding me of the PS3 era, when they first started, when they were like, yeah, this is going to be a $600 console, and it had just very hard specs to make any game work with it, and they didn't really have a lot of PS3 games anyways to begin with. But no, it was a $600 console, and everyone was just kind of like, that's no. No. And then you had scalpers, and then you had those midnight releases that just ended in complete disasters. And then they finally shaped up and was just like, okay, PS3 Slim, rebrand, new marketing strategy, 250 to 300, and it ended up finishing much better. And I feel like that's what Nintendo's doing, but Nintendo doesn't really have anything in its own wheelhouse of original IPs that's worth a price that high. And its ports of other games don't do so well on that particular console. I don't know if there's anyone out there who's playing like Elden Ring, or I don't know, give me a multiplayer game, Apex Legends, on a Switch.
There's
I
some people I've heard people say, yeah, I play Overwatch on the Switch, and I'm just like, I don't know why you would do that unless you don't have any other option. But like I guess some people do, because I mean it's not like you can play it off Wi-Fi. I don't think you need internet connection. So if you need internet connection, you can get it from a bigger console or like your PC or whatever, and you have more maneuverability. Like I said, unless you just don't have a choice,
Yeah, if
or
you don't
unless you
have a
just
choice
really want
because
to
like
support Nintendo.
your parents, have to buy the console for you and that's how you are able to stay in the gaming race. But like if you're living on your own or whatever, or you have the funds to, get these consoles yourself, um most gamers are going to go with something that has good performance and optimization. Certain games that are ported into the Nintendo are not properly optimized for that console.
Right.
But then if that's all that you're left with because that's what you can manage, then I guess that's just the middle ground that people find themselves coming to be like, okay, it's justified. I'll play it on here because that's all I can do right now. Like I can play my PlayStation 5 on my TV, obviously, because that's where the main console is hooked up to. But if I wanted to play it on the bed, I could do it through the Steam Deck's IYKYK deck application. But in my head, I know that's not the preferred way that I would play it. But if I'm in a situation where I don't want to be sitting up in the chair and looking at the TV, and I wanted to use something smaller and be in a bed and comfortable so I can start winding down from sleep, then that would be optimized. It's definitely like what you're in the mood for sometimes. But if you're constantly in the mood for playing, very hardcore, well, maybe not very hardcore, but um particular specs on an average console, the Switch, then like sure, however you justify that is however you justify it. But I think most gamers would play it on consoles where like that wouldn't be an issue. Um and then going back to the 80 and 90, that's just ridiculous. I don't think of Nintendo and go, yeah, yeah, $100 for Mario Kart. Aren't they up to like 8 now or 9? They all do the same thing.
Something,
They
yeah,
they, they,
something like
they
that. They
all
they
they all
improve
do
the
the same thing.
graphics and stuff like that. Which I mean, somebody else was talking about like we're at the point where I mean, obviously, like virtual reality is a thing, is becoming a thing. It hasn't like kicked regular video gaming out of the way, thank God. But it's becoming a thing where it's just gonna be like, yeah, you can't get more realistic looking games besides putting people in the game. It's kind of like what I said to you with like the difference between PS4 and PS5. Now, obviously, there's a difference between the 4 and the 5, but it's like, when if you play a game on the PS2 and you play the game on the PS3, right? And
Hmm.
then you see how it looks on the 3 and you play that same game on the 2, you're like, yeah, this is kind of tough for me to get back to because the 3 just looks so much better. And then the 4 and the 3 was like that, except less so. And then the 5 and the 4 is like that, even less, even to the point where it's just like, bro, I prefer the PS4 over the PS5. Like, if it wasn't for specific games that I needed to play on the PS5, I wouldn't even have it. So it's like the difference in graphics is you heard me say it a million times. It's like evening and night is the difference than like day and night. Like it's not a day and night difference. It's like all right, the sun set, so now it's dark outside.
Yeah, and
Whereas the
and
sun was going down a little while ago.
and again, if not saying that people can't prioritize graphics because some people will get into something simply just off of the graphics and then everything else will come after, but it's like if you're paying $100 to see the hair follicles on someone's cheek, even though the camera is usually placed behind that character, and you got to do all this extra work in photo mode just to really get your bang for your buck. It's like it's this kind of joke that I say with my girlfriend. So she plays Overwatch, and you know how you have all the custom games.
Hmm.
So there's a few custom games where they don't fight. They just sit in a square room and they just all chat in the open game chat. And I sit there and laugh because I'm like, man, Overwatch players will do everything but play the actual game. Like they, they will do everything but play quick play. And that's what it kind of feels like with this whole graphics thing where it's like I'm not saying you can't play these other custom games, but it's like The point to play a game is to be immersed, is to be whisked away, is to, let your imagination go wild. But if you're so hung up on how well the graphics look, but the performance is terrible, the optimization is terrible, the mods are giving you a hard time if you try to take this over to PC, what is the point of playing that game? You can have the prettiest looking game, but if it is poorly pieced together, you're gonna have a very dampened experience. A good
Right.
game is gonna be balanced in all of its categories to be able to be a successful product where you don't go, man, like this game is kind of jank. I don't know why people are so obsessed with realism to the point of actually trying to control realistic looking things, but then also decry that the industry is stagnant and stale and pale. Well, if you try to make something realistic, you unfortunately have to operate within the boxes of the reality that comes with that. If a character has realistic weighted ankles on their feet, they're probably not going to be jumping 50 feet in the air, if at all. But if a game wants to be fantastical and have personality and have a style to it and identity, yeah, it does break bounds. It does go out of the box of realism, and it's just a fun, kooky, zany game. But yeah, if you want your extra blades of grass that you're never gonna see or never really pay attention to, maybe in the first 20 minutes when you get the game, but if anyone's getting a game to be like, oh yeah, I want to see how the sun shines on my suit, it's like, yeah, sure, that's your prerogative, but there's more to the game than just how it looks. The games that are remembered for their stories and their gameplays stand out much much longer than the games that just look pretty. So maybe
Absolutely.
maybe it's just an old tale of all style no substance, or all substance and no style type of thing. Like there's just this rock paper scissors nature to it, but as the person individually, you do have to figure out what you value in the most. And if you value in graphics, then you shouldn't be at the table when complaining about everything else that comes with the game, because you chose your side, little Padawan, and you gonna stick to it. So that's all. Um, but yeah, no, $80-$90 for that is crazy. So if Nintendo's doing that, then the whole Grand Theft Auto thing really isn't gonna matter whether they do it at 100 or not, because people are so ready for this game that they're just willing to pay for anything because they're looking at the potential that comes with it. The earning potential that is going to come with Grand Theft Auto 6 with the everyday person is going to be just a literal spike in just profitability, right? If I started streaming Grand Theft Auto 6, there's going to be such a huge uptick in like just my viewer count, my engagement,
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
the content creation that comes out of that if I want to do that. So I know a lot of people are probably anticipating this game just because of the raw earning potential they're going to get from it, especially with like the role play servers, the guild streamers and stuff like that. And maybe that's where the real anticipation is coming from, because most people that I talk to that have played GTA 5, GTA 4 do not talk a lot about the story. They only remember like the
No.
beginning, the middle, the end, but none of the in-betweens that get to each of those arcs. And it's really about the online portion where people just can talk about it all day long. So I really think that GTA 6 is highly favored right now because of its earning potential and the online aspect of it that's going to just make people skyrocket. It's going to be like the COVID boom all over again. It's going to be the lethal companies, the repos, the clickable moments. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's just that people aren't playing the game to play the game. They're playing the game because of what it can do for them in more ways than one. And you can chalk that up to either the advent of like, just TikTok and Instagram and just all these features where like the priority is to broadcast yourself in such a way where it's like, okay, how much can I get back from this investment with the least amount of effort as possible? And I just think
Hmm.
that's just interesting for how far games have come, because um like Red Dead, I know it has an online mode, but it's not as highly talked about like the Grand Theft
Nope.
Autos,
No, not even close.
Yeah, and then to put the nail even further in that, Rockstar tried to do something with it, but it just did not hit the numbers that they wanted to. It wasn't getting the proper traction or engagement, and eventually they just let it go. If the arrow is going
Well, I
up,
think
they'll
that
invest.
I, I I think that it was there. But the fact that, see, so a couple of things. One, in defense of GTA, in defense of the company that doesn't need any defense. Um, it came out what 2013?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure. You're the
GTA
cowboy
5
expert.
came out. Yeah, no, I'm saying not Red Dead, but GTA 5 came out in 2013
Yeah.
originally. It came because I remember I got it on the 360. Um, Came out in 2013, and remember they released the game with no online mode first, and then they put the online mode out later because they needed to make sure that everything was going to be sturdy for it, and whatever they could double dip like that, get people back, and then they double dip by putting it out on PC later. So I think that a lot of people beat the story and stuff. It's not like Call of Duty was back in the day where it's like everybody was just like, yeah, forget the campaign, I'm going straight to online. It was kind of like, all right, well, GTA is coming out first. GTA Online will come out later once we're sure that's ready to go. And so everybody kind of beat the story,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was just like, all right, time to go online. And then by the time you got your re-releases on four, because I won't say PC because PC players are patient and they're loyal, so they'll wait until it comes out on PC and be like, all right, cool, we just wait. So I'll say when it came out again on like the four, and then it got re-released again on five, um, the story had already been beaten, well beaten, and so on and so forth. So that's probably why people aren't really talking about the story. And unlike GTA 4, they didn't release any real like story content. They released the Franklin and Lamar update, but they released it through online. So, they didn't release single player DLC like they did with 4. So that's probably why nobody was talking about the story. And then the RP boom kicked off during COVID when everybody just didn't have anything to do anyway. And then onto the Red Dead thing. Red Dead Online did have a strong community, and I remember like they even had the whole Save Red Dead online, or they was trying to get Rockstar to pay attention to Red Dead Online and stuff like that. Because I watched a YouTuber called The Professional who was advocating strongly for like, dude, give Red Dead Online some content. Like, we're ready to play it. We want to play it, and it had a pretty strong following. Got trending on Twitter for whatever that's worth. Um, about people wanting to, get more content, get it saved. But I think that because GTA Online was just so powerful, and then they was like, well, instead of having two juggernauts, I don't want one of our juggernauts to take away from the other one. So we're just gonna feed everything into GTA Online and not pay any attention to Red Dead Online because that's where the more numbers are. Instead of
Which is
creating a
crazy
community with
because
two,
it's just kind of like, okay,
yeah.
sure, both games have online capacity and just capabilities of endless possibilities, but it's like one has a world, a theme where cars don't exist in the ye old west,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that in and of itself is
Mm-hmm.
the niche, where the fastest thing in that game is probably a locomotive, I'd imagine. um and then you have Grand Theft Auto 5 that just is such an advancement in terms of technology of that world. You got cars, you got guns, you got planes, you got orbital cannons and flying bikes, like I think that is the one time in this industry where you can have two separate economies that do
Mm-hmm.
drastically different things versus being like, okay, we have Grand Theft Auto 4 online, which is very bare bones, but there's still a bunch of mini games that you can play, or excuse me, a bunch of missions you can play, and then the freestyle mode where people just, go near the lost whatever map and get helicopters and fly around and shoot people with the annihilators. But it's just kind of like both are Grand Theft Auto, both are online. One has more in-depth things that you can do, and one has the potential of what it could become. So I could get why you wouldn't want to invest in that because they're kind of the same thing. It's like owning two of the same cars, but one's a 2010 and the other one's a 2012. But they're both the same brand. They have both the same features and amenities. One just has a different color, and this one has heated seats, and the other one doesn't. But you still keep both because you're like, oh, it just feels right to have both. But it's like ideally you don't have to have both. You can have one or the other, and then put your time into that. But I don't know, with a game like Red Dead, which is just so distinct and unique in its own style, and then Grand Theft Auto, it's just like, yeah, you can technically have both in that regard. But Clearly they thought otherwise, and not enough people, despite being a strong community, could have been a strong community of 20 people, wasn't enough in the eyes of Rockstar, unfortunately. So yeah, I hope that when GTA 6 does come out, it does have a cool story. It does actually get people talking about, like, video game stories and single player content in general, but that's coming from somebody who prioritizes in single player narratives first, then let my imagination go wild, and then if there's any online stuff, go from there. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. And I mean, we'll get to that because I mean that's coming. If it does come out this year, then it will be a part of this season. The whole GTA episode. I got thoughts for it now, but
Oh lord.
yeah, just touching on the way things are going now. With I guess Nintendo got tired of waiting, GTA to drop and set the market, and they said, hey, you know what, we're gonna try to set the market, and
That's
I guess they're
crazy.
gonna try. I don't think they got the same selling potential as GTA 6, but in their minds they do, so they're going for it, I guess.
Man, I'm gonna feel so bad for that normative family when they're just kind of like, wow, like Kirby and Friends is $90. I don't know if I can get this one for you, son. Maybe we should get something else. It's just because, like,
Yeah, and that's sad. That's sad because they're not recognizing that their market, and that's what I was gonna say too when you was talking about like earning potential.
mm-hmm.
The market for GTA 6, Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto is gonna sell to the casual audience. You know what I'm saying? So you'll get the dummies who just can't wait for it to drop down below $100 or whatever because they have FOMO or because everybody on the internet is talking about it and they just need to see what's going on or they need to feel like they're a part of something. Nintendo has a very niche market where it's just like these are people into family games or long-standing fans of these series and whatever, and you're gonna make them pay for it for something that shouldn't even be costing near $100. Like people cannot afford that. The cost of living and everything is going up now. Like eggs is like almost $10, or if not more than $10 or whatever. And you want to charge people damn near $100 for a video game?
Yeah, it gets to the point where you start to price out like the core audience, and it starts in the middle, and then that perimeter just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's pushing out all the people that would have supported your works, would have supported your products, but because the bar of entry is just getting so much higher and higher, it's just ridiculous. And I think in their head they're thinking that, like, oh, bigger number will equal bigger sale at end of fiscal year, and it's like, no. if I have KFC and you have Albuquerque boiled turkey, you have my recipe for KFC. We are both the same fast food joint, okay? But I sell my combo meals at $70, and you sell that same combo meal that tastes the same way at $40. Who do you think is going to get more at the end of that year? I would
The one
imagine
that's on it for
yours.
less. Yeah.
Unless this was chicken cultivated from the gods, no one's gonna be buying $70 worth of combo meals in droves. It's just not gonna happen. Remember that guy who what was his name? He would sprinkle salt on the food.
Salt Bay or something like that, right?
Is
That guy?
is his name Salt Bay? He has like dark glasses. They're circular.
He was just a meme for the way he sprinkled the salt on it or whatever in
Yeah,
that
like he
zesty
had
kind
all
of
these
way.
restaurants that have been closing down now because it's just like, dude, you're not gonna DoorDash me $150 for a burger with edible gold. Like that's stupid. That's stupid, but like people buy into it and then they realize, like, oh dang, like to keep up with this, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And they're out. And then when you realize that like edible gold, it can be bought on like other online stores for like $10 a pack, it's just kind of like, oh, so it's cheap on this platform, but it's greatly upticked on your storefront because of who you are. I think that's ridiculous, and I feel like Nintendo and Sony and Xbox are just all kind of like in their PS3 era, where it's like, here's this game that's not new. It's just a port of something you've already played before, and because we've optimized it and made it easier for you to access, we're gonna charge you extra for it. It's like, No, that doesn't make any sense. So,
Yeah, no, but yep, this is where we are now.
this is where we are.
Unfortunately, I want all of these suits to get out of it because that's what it is. The people that the money bros and the investors and the money has too much power over. You know, it used to be like people used to just come to video games, but like, yeah, throw your disposable income in there. Let the geeks and the nerds make their little thingamajiggies and sell it to other geeks and nerds, and maybe you'll get a little bit of a profit off of it. But I mean, since COVID and a little bit before COVID, since gaming became cool and being a geek became cool, and everybody was into it, and they found out there's money involved, the money wanted to have a bigger say in the products that they was paying to make and so on and so forth. And now it's the money making the games instead of the passion making the product. You know what I mean? Because this is not for the passionate people. This is not for the fans because you're gonna make it so the fans can't afford it, or
Yeah,
the fans are not gonna buy
and
it.
and since they don't want to do that, by practice and execution, they are pricing out the people that were in this for I don't want to say the right reasons, because ultimately all this stuff is subjective and it's just video games at the end of the day. But um you're pricing out the people that were there for you because they cared about your vision, they cared about what you was making, and they wanted to support you in their own unique way. I just don't know how someone could have $1 trillion and be like, oops, that was a mistake. Like, it just baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. But like you said, that is the age that we're living in. Guys, if you have backlog, it's time to get to it. Or if you're a Caucasian person, it's time to get to your queue. It's time to complete that queue. Ew.
Yep. So it's
So
fun.
yeah.
So it's funny that you talk about the backlog. Well, not so much the backlog, but the what was it that we said? Backup. Yeah, the backup. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because you the backup you save. So leading into the Assassin's Creed thing, and thinking about things like that, and also some of the market. I want to talk about the media and I guess you can say like fandoms or uh like fan groups or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I sent you the video on Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I mean Assassin's Creed Shadows. So the game just came out a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, a few weeks ago, I believe. And I played a little bit. I'm trying to get back to it, and it's been pretty good to me. But I mean, there's just a lot of like animosity for the game and stuff like that. And it got me to thinking about, if the game if the game or games in general and other pieces of media in general receive fair criticism or unfair criticism. And I mean, we know that some things do receive unfair criticism, but I mean, let's talk about the responsibilities of these groups and stuff like that. Because I know you said you have the mindset that says hey, if they make something you don't like, back up your save file, go outside, touch grass, do something different, play something different, play the things that you do like, watch the things that you do like, etc. And I'm of the well, I advocate for people being passionate. If you want to, defend the thing that you feel like they're trying to ruin with reason, death threats and stuff like that are not okay ever. But with reason, say, I'm against this. I want to vocalize, why and what it should be or what I believe it to be. Even though, like you said, it's subjective, so it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're breaking too far away from it, like if they want to put like, imagine they made like Naruto, but they put them all in space. You know what I'm saying? Like
They
people are
put
gonna
they
be
put him
like,
in
man,
space.
Naruto was yeah, like Naruto is not about this. It's about ninjas and the village and friendship and this and that and whatever and whatever. Like it got nothing to do with them being like astronauts. Like we've gone way too far off the reservation here. So I mean, like defense of things that you like that and stuff like that. Like I believe that there's a necessary evil, and I know that you don't really agree with these guys like what's his name, Critical Drinker and It's a Gundam, and I mean we both agree on the synthetic man is just way too angry. But I mean like I feel like there is a need for some of these people to hold some of these things and creations accountable and call out things, because I feel like without them, like you just get a whole bunch of like, I guess the polite way would be say like an echo chamber of people that just like want to agree and say it's good, it's fine, and praise it, and you kind of create like a thing where anybody who speaks out gets jumped on and mauled and whatever. So
Yeah,
we're just
like
supposed to go along and
there
get
is
along.
there is definitely a need for the pushback and the counterculture groups, but at the same time, it's like if you want to play Assassin's Creed because you want to play Assassin's Creed, just play Assassin's Creed. Like at some point, it's like how much is the online discourse about it going to affect your enjoyment of the game? People that you're never gonna meet, people that could be saying these things for all types of reasons, could have been having a bad day and they want to take it out on a $1 million company. Like if you want to play the game, just play the game. That's with Creed, that's with Stellar Blade, because Stellar Blade was also trying to get its thrashings throughout the tour before that game released. Like the stuff that they choose to focus in on the games with and not actually uplift what makes it cool or what makes it work in this time is just what baffles me. These supposed quote unquote journalists will say like, oh well, why is this game the way that it is when experts say that it should be like that? Like bro, we all have critical thinking capabilities, we all have nuance. I'm not saying that we all have to be pundits, but it's just like if I want to play Stellar Blade because I played Nier Automata and Bayonetta, and I have seen video game characters that are women, that are predominantly sexy, but that can still get stuff done to the point where that their body is not a distraction, then why wouldn't I want to play Stellar Blade? Because for me personally, I want to see if this game can step up like the other ones did before it, because this game came out after those other games have released. So it should be able to look at those past works when they were in their primes and be like, okay, here's what I can take away from it, the good and the bad. It's like cinema sins versus cinema wins. You know, there are people that like cinema sins, right? They like nitpicking the oddities of a show or a movie and just really getting into the nitty gritty. But at some point it's just kind of like, man, do you like anything that comes out? Like anything at all? Like just enjoy it.
Well, I feel
Versus
that they do,
yes, I'm
but
sure that they do, but
Cinema
because
Sins
they
is
have to play a character, they can't afford to break out of the mold, because now people are forced to critically think about it and it throws off the entire mission statement of what the channel originally went for. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have cinema wins, where even though they can still talk about certain misgivings with a movie, they still can put a positive spin on it where it's like, yeah, I'm saying that this isn't as good as it could be, but because of what we got and where we're at right now, maybe the outlook on it isn't so bad. If
right.
you want
Well,
to
I
play
feel like because I
Creed
think
and you're not liking it, okay, go play Ghost of Tsushima. Because when it was time for Assassin to be in Japan, they wanted to go to Valhalla, even though we already had God of War. When it was time for them to be in Japan, they wanted to go to Egypt. And then they wanted to make extra DLC content and expansions. They chose not to listen to whatever fan base or community that they had. And now that their company is like on the ropes, bottom of the ninth or whatever, now they decide, okay, this is going to be our saving grace. Sure, if that's going to be your gamble, that's your gambit. But I can't at some point continue to keep listening to what other people are saying if I want to go and do the thing that I want to do. I might not like the new Jurassic World that's going to come out. One, because of how quickly it came out. I remember finishing Jurassic World 3 and I saw either online or somebody had said something to me about it where they were like, yeah, they're gonna make another 3 movies, and I'm like let this trilogy rest first. Let it simmer, let it marinate for a minute. That's why people, I mean, for the most part, that's why Boruto got such a bad reception. Like it gave no time for the 18-year investment that you made time to rest. But at some point I was just kind of like, okay, I'm done listening to whatever the online conversation is. I'm just gonna watch the show now because I am that interested in it. Because I'm that quote unquote passionate about it. I want to see where this passion leads me. But if it got to a point where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it anymore, I'm just gonna drop it. I'm gonna move on to the next thing that catches my interest. But these people that like are like low key like pseudo radicalized because like what else do we really have going on in our lives other than waking up, getting something to eat, going to work, rinse and repeat, and do it all over again? It's just kind of like, It ain't that big a deal. If you want to do it, just do it. But that's
Well,
just
yeah,
me.
but I mean, like I think I don't know about cinema. I think I know what cinema sins is because I got a guy. There's a guy I watch on YouTube. His name is Dartigan. He does gaming sins, and I think he was inspired off of cinema sins. And the way he goes about the games, like he gets at good games, he gets at bad games, he gets at big games, he gets at small games. So it's like I never really looked at him and said, well, I don't think he likes anything. I kind of looked at him and was kind of like, because I mean, it's fun to see him pick apart bad games. But then I also watch him pick apart games that, like, I love, or games that were universally praised or whatever the case may be. Because interesting to see, like, all right, well, what can he do about this game that was pretty critically acclaimed, or that was very well received or whatever. And like he'll make little fun jokes about this and that, or pick at the little discrepancies in between the stories or the plot holes or whatever the case may be. And he'll talk about them, he'll joke about them or whatever. But in the end, he'll be like, it's a good game, it's this or that or whatever. Like, he's not hating on the game. He's just kind of I always feel like he's like holding it accountable. Like, it's a good game, but it's not perfect. Which, you kind of need more of because, everybody, or not everybody, but more people than not these days are, prisoners of the moment, or what have you done for me lately, this and that and whatever. So, like, let's say, like, Spider-Man 2, for example, right? Me and you
Mm-hmm.
can both agree that Spider-Man 2 was a good game.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
But
whoa, whoa, whoa!
it was like,
You say it's a good game. I say it is an amazing game.
all right, so I don't think we're going to
I'm gonna
agree.
split it in the
But,
half because I thought it was a very good game. Not to mention, I thought it was so good that I bought it twice. I walked into that GameStop day one and spent $150, one for you and one for me. And I did the same thing for the first game.
yes.
Now, granted, that was its first outing, so we were all excited to see what Insomniac was going to do with an IP like this. But I thought both games were amazing. I mean, this was like the years of the Spider-Man anyway, so like Spider-Man as a IP was eating good regardless. But like it had other outside factors for me that was bolstering my enjoyment of this thing. We had the movies, we had the games that were coming out. We were a few ways off from Marvel Rivals, but like for me, Spider-Man was just hitting on all cylinders. I was like, man, like the people that are on these projects for Spider-Man, like they get Spider-Man. They are doing this boy justice. And that to me translated into where my dollar went. So I thought it was an amazing game. Was I aware of of the conversation surrounding Spider-Man 2? Absolutely. Did I care? To an extent. But at the end of the day, I prioritize my enjoyment of what I buy. I'm not gonna buy something and have
Absolutely.
someone go, oh, you shouldn't enjoy that because of all these different things. Now I could be like, oh yeah, that is an interesting fact, or that is an interesting tidbit as to why this thing turned out the way it did. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna have fun, and I have fun with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you should definitely think for yourself. You know me. You heard me in these. You heard me in conversations not on here. I'm all for people. You should definitely have your own opinion. I just feel like they give a voice to the disenfranchised. Now I'm gonna hold them accountable for, like, all right, when you're going a bit too crazy, when you're trying to say it's about this and that and whatever, it's not really about that. Like, I feel like they are with Creed Shadows, which I'll get back to that in a minute. But what I was saying for, like, Spider-Man 2 is that me personally being objective, like, I like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite. I'm a DC guy, but Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel superhero. So
Okay.
me personally, when it comes to Spider-Man 2, I felt like the game was good. Like, it wasn't a bad game, it was a good game, but I felt like they played it a bit safe. Like, I feel like safe is the word that comes to mind for me with Spider-Man 2. For it lacked DLC. I see what they wanted to do with the story, what they're setting up for, what they're doing with it, what they made happen, and so on and so forth. And it hit where it hit, but I don't feel like it really hit like the first one hit. So in my mind, it's kind of like, let's go to, like, the Spider Verse movies, for example. Spider Verse, I told you this one. I think I said it even on here before. The first Spider Verse movie, I kind of like had to digest it. Then I had to, like, watch it again because I enjoyed it. And it's like one of those. It's like one of those ones where it's just like the more I told you, I was sitting here. I was like, and I woke up. And I was like, y'all really like that movie. I'm gonna go watch it again. I'm gonna buy it on Sony. I'm gonna watch it again. And I think I showed it to a girl I was talking to at the time. We watched it together. I was like, yeah, I really like this. Like, I had to digest it, sit with it, really like gather. But I was liking it more and more the more I thought about it. And then it comes Across the Spider-Verse. And it's like, I was hyped when we left the movie theater. Like, I was like, yo, I had goosebumps and everything. And I was like, I've got to take my mother to see this movie because it hit on so many different angles. And I'm as in love with it watching it the second time as I was the first time. I'm going to work. I'm telling the security guy at the dock, like, he got to watch it. I talked him into watching both movies and whatever because I'm just like, yo, the second movie, like, I watched the ending scene. Now I get goosebumps and I'm heavily anticipating the next movie to come out. So it's like the second one hit different for me than the first one was. The first one is phenomenal, and I won't talk bad about it. It's a great movie, amazing, and all of that. But to me, the second one had me more hype, but they're not far off from each other. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, like Spider-Man 1, the first game stuck with me a lot longer than Spider-Man 2 did, personally. Because it had so much going. It wanted to tell a story. It went straight with it. I felt like it delivered on almost all accounts and whatever. You know the next game is coming, but you're like, yo, this game right here, this is it. With Spider-Man 2, it's like, all right, me personally, it's like, all right, cool. But, you pretty much like, I'm waiting to see where the rest of it goes because you didn't, finish this. You didn't push on that. You set up for these things and you figure it was going to come out in DLC. All right, no DLC. So it must be coming out in the third game.
I think they wanted to do
And it's like,
DLC,
all right.
but the hack thing kind of put a damper on that. I
All right, so
think. Don't quote me on that, but
yeah, so outside things could have gotten in the way, but it's like, okay, so where are we going with this? Where are we going with that? All right, cool, you resolved that. This and that. For me, it was just like when Spider-Man 2 ended, it was like, okay, all right, that was cool, that was cool. But with Spider-Man 1, it's like, damn, Aunt May and this and that and whatever, and going forward, and Miles and Pete and Mary, and then it was like you got some DLC too. I was like, yo, DLC, cool, but this right here was just like,
yeah,
wow.
I think the first
Spider-Man 2
outing
is
is
like,
always going to set a good impression, and it's going to set the bar, like, for what's to come. But, like, again, sometimes you might not be able to hit that second chin up, but it got close. At least, for me. But here I am hearing your side of the debate as well, where it's like, yeah, it didn't hit that high mark for you. It didn't give you those warm, fuzzy feelings like the last time. But, you gave it a chance because of what came before it. And as consumers in all of this, you at least owe it that. So good on you for doing that. I'm sorry it didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to be, but at least you gave it a chance,
yeah, no, because I didn't hate it. It's not bad. Like I said, I don't think it's bad, and I'm not even paying attention. Well, I mean, obviously, I can pay attention to when they say, "Oh, well, I feel like they shoved this in," and I'm like, I don't really feel like that's as big of a problem as you guys. I'm like, yeah, I see it. I'm not blind to it, and I can acknowledge it, sure. But I mean, like, does it take away from the overall experience? Not really. I mean, I had some questions with some things, but I mean, like, it didn't really take. Like, I just felt like it was a good, kind of like it was a good game that was trying to do a whole lot and incorporate a whole lot and juggle a whole lot while trying to stay true to the first and whatever. And I'm like, I can see and I can acknowledge they're trying to jam everything in here and hit on all angles. And what is it? What is that saying? Try to please everyone, you will please no one, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
It's kind of like, yeah, you're trying to like put something in there for everybody, and then you're gonna piss these people off. You piss those people off. You piss those people off that you're trying to please because there's not enough of what you're trying to give them in there and whatever. And it's like, yeah, I kind of feel like you may have stretched yourself a bit too thin in some areas and whatever. So okay, but nah, it was an overall good game. I may have to play it again. But I think, I'm just going off of how I felt and when I'm looking at it and what I remember, I was like, yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I woke up. I played it straight. It made me want to play it again the next day. But I just felt like, it was safe, whereas the first one had me in highs
That
and
game was
lows
legit.
and
I don't
just
wait, when you say safe, what do you mean?
safe by like it did what it wanted to do, but it didn't really take any real like gambles. You know what I'm saying? Like
Venom's not a
it
gamble?
didn't really.
Making the origin
Not
story
the
of
way.
Venom tied to Harry not a gamble?
Yeah. So all right. So you want to get into details. So all right.
Well, yeah,
Like
because that's the
if
that's the
if
that's the crux.
but
That's
hold
the
on.
meat.
Hold on. So what I'll
Christopher
say is
Robin.
this. The, the way I feel about that is the way I feel about, and maybe this is just a modern day trend. The way I
Mhm.
feel about Venom is the way I feel about the Red Hulk and the Captain America. Did you ever see? Have you seen the Dark Knight? Batman: The Dark Knight?
Long ago, yes.
Okay, so you may not remember,
No, I will
but
not.
you know, everybody knew that Batman and Joker. Well, actually, they teased it at the end of Batman Begins. So everybody and their mother knew Joker was in the movie, right?
Mhm.
But you know who they did know was in the movie? Two
Cool.
Face. Now Harvey Dent is in the movie.
Okay.
And everybody who knows Batman knows that Harvey Dent is Two Face. But the whole time you're wondering, is he gonna be Two Face in this movie? Maybe he'll be Two Face in the next movie. But anyway, you got Harvey Dent here, right?
Okay.
And I'll tie this into the Telltale kind of without spoiling you later. But you got Harvey Dent here, and so you're wondering, this is Two Face. Is he gonna be Two Face in this movie? Is he even gonna be Two Face in the series? Whatever. Like the question is just there in your mind. And then towards the end of the movie, when Joker turns him into Two Face, you're like, oh. And then Two Face kind of becomes the antagonist for a little while. But you didn't know going into it that that's what was gonna happen. Like you didn't know Harvey Dent was gonna be Two Face. You didn't even know Harvey Dent was in this movie. So it was a nice little surprise that you get there and you're like, all right, let's see where this goes. When they did Venom in Spider-Man 2, because he's all over the marketing material and everything. Let me see if he's on the back of the cover. No, he's not on the back cover. But you know he's in the game. So you're just like, all right, well, how are they gonna go about Venom doing it? And then you see Harry and you're like thing, and then you see him feeling better, and then you see the little things of the symbiote and what, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's gonna be Harry. I got you. And now you're just wanting to see how this unfolds. For me, maybe it's because my mind is different. I write stories and stuff like that, so I'm always looking at things with an analytical mind. And I think I told you I was like, if something can pull me out of my analytical mind, my looking for the twist or the turn and just immerse me in the story, that's how I know it's fantastic because I'm always looking at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider-Man 2, I'm just looking at it like, all right, well, how are they gonna pull this Harry thing off? How are they gonna pull this Harry thing off? And I watch it and I'm like, all right, this is how they pulled the Harry thing off. Like it got me to the point where it's like, okay, that was good. It did good with what it got it done. You know what I mean? Like it got it done. It did what it needed to do. I can agree with how they did it from a storytelling perspective, but it didn't pull me out of analyzing it from a storytelling perspective. So I felt like, yeah, they did what they needed to do. They got it done. That's it. It's fine. It's good. It's okay. It's safe. They didn't really do anything like, oh my God, they did that. They had the balls to do that. Like they really went there. Like I never really had one of those moments in Spider-Man 2. And
I
Spider-Man
I
1,
had
I
a
think
lot of
I
moments like
did.
that. That
And
game
again,
was
I'm glad
legit.
that I'm glad that you enjoy. I could be tripping. Or I mean, I feel the way I feel, and you feel the way you feel. It could be like that, but for me, like 2 was just like, yeah, everything that was in here. Okay, I see what you're doing with that. All right, you got it. You didn't fumble the ball. You did what you needed to do. You got it done. You got it to where it needed to go. Okay, cool. But it didn't really, for me, it didn't really hit it where it was just like, well, I was surprised that they did that, or I was surprised. I think the closest thing in that whole game that got me there was the whole Yuri and Carnage thing, and the fact that that's
See,
not going to
that
get
was a pleasant
fully
surprise for me.
resolved.
That was my Two-Face moment because I'm already thinking in the background,
Yeah,
like, okay, maybe this is gonna set up for the third game, maybe an absolute carnage,
right.
maybe maximum carnage. But by the time I got to a certain threshold in the game, I was like, yeah, that's probably not gonna happen. But then as I'm doing the side missions and my trophy cleanup, I'm like, oh. Like that's my moment. So I think the way the story is written and where the pieces are put, it's gonna create different desired effects for the individual. Whereas like you want your brain to be racked to the point where you step outside of yourself and you're able to look at it from a completely different but yet interesting angle. Where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I know Venom's gonna be in the game, but I want to know how we got to this point. Like I remember like one of my best moments of like prologue being used was when Storm 2 opens up with the village already being destroyed, and then it just racks everything back, to how we got up to that point. It just always stuck with me because I'm like, man, like no matter how happy-go-lucky it gets, someone's about to do this hometown dirty, and that way of anchoring the story just always sat with me. Or season 1 of Avatar, like it was very slice of life. We're going to different islands, we're having fun, we're playing games. But once we get to the solstice episode, it's like, oh, we only have until the summer. And if we don't take care of this by the summertime, there won't be a world to save because it's literally going to be scorched. It just ramped everything up in a way that felt organic, but in a way where you're like, oh my gosh, like the clock is on right now. And it worked, we're still talking about it to this day. So yeah, you're absolutely not wrong in feeling the way that you do, because you were looking for something in that game, and it didn't scratch it, it just kind of tapped the itch. But for me, that thing had its nails all up in me. Spider-Man 2 was legit. Spider-Man
yeah,
2 was legit.
I think that the point I was trying to make with that is like I feel like these counterbalances in me, and I mean I've done it. I've listened to people who said, "Yo, man, Arkham Asylum was overrated or this or that or whatever for what it did." I'm like, man, this game like revolutionized a generation of like free flow combat and hero games and revolutionized hero games and this and that and whatever, and somebody thinks it's overrated. And at first, like, I treat it with like scoff, like this is somebody who's just trying to be a contrarian and get people for thinking this way, or get attention for being the voice outside the box or whatever. But then it's just like, nah, let me go hear what they got to say. And while they might be hitting on some points and miss the point on some other points or whatever, I'm like, okay, I can draw how this person think that, or they're right in this regard where they kind of fluff that up or this or that or whatever, and whatever the case may be. So I feel like some of these things are good to like keep people away from just because if you get into too much of a mindset, you might be like, yo, something is a masterpiece, but it's like, it's not a masterpiece. It's very good, or it's good, or whatever the case may be. But it's not perfect. It wasn't flawless. It wasn't. That's very rare. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's very rare when something is like perfect. So you don't. I think these voices are good for like making sure you don't get too. Because I mean, we are in a creatively bankrupt place in Hollywood and in games right now, where nothing, like very little new or original is being told. Even when it's put in a new kind of wrapping or whatever, they're telling a story that something else told better, or it's just another unwanted sequel or reboot or remaster or remake or whatever the case may be. Because all of these things are like safe. You're gonna get money off of the name recognition or this and that or whatever. So I mean, I feel like these things are good, or it's good to just call out when like, hey, you're making a mockery of this and you're not respecting the source material. Like you can make your own spin of this or that or whatever, by all means. Because it's like, when people make something like a side story of like Avatar, or like, a side story of like Star Wars or something like that, you're going to go to a place where there's enough space and time where you can tell your story, and you don't mess with the canon. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like how what's the game I had you play? Jedi
Fallen
Fallen
Order.
Order. Yeah, where they did it, where it's like you're around when Darth Vader's around, but we're gonna tell a story, and then obviously you can't cross paths with Darth Vader until the end, because if your name is not Luke Skywalker, you're not gonna do anything to Darth Vader. We already know that. And then even with Cal, it's like, yeah, Cal, here's Darth Vader. Well, what do I do? Do I fight him? You run, because your name is not Luke Skywalker. You can't touch Darth Vader. You're the hero of this game, but you're not the hero of the story. So it's not you, Chief. Run away.
But then in that same
And you,
breath, they could have had it where they're like, hey, let this be the game where you can unlock your imagination and actually fight Darth Vader. It's just, for every action, there's a reaction. It might not be equal or opposite in this case, but it's like, game should be the space where you can experiment with that level of creativity. Now, personally,
well, yeah, you
I
can.
like that we couldn't fight Vader, because as somebody who's not into Star Wars, I felt the weight of this man's clout in the 13 seconds he was on screen. But there could have been
Yeah.
another option where it's like, yeah, no, you do get to fight him, so you can feel what that's actually like, and maybe the story would change. But I guess in this case now it wouldn't be canon because however it's received, it feels so weird. Like if it's not well received, it's not canon. But then if it is well received, but it wasn't meant to be canon, it is now canon. So yeah, it's
Well,
some.
not because the people who took over Star Wars, they erased a whole lot of things that was canon that was well received and made their own canon. So I mean, mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. It's if it's their own canon, that doesn't mean the other canon doesn't exist. It just means that the continuity in their particular way of telling the story doesn't exist. So it's just kind of like, all right, I guess I'll just, in this case, back up my save file and go back to watching the things that I liked about, like, these were the highlights that I liked about this show. And the show that's out there right now isn't doing it for me. Assassin's Creed is doing something right now that would be considered its own canon, but if you've already played Japanese games, Neo, Ninja Gaiden, I guess Ashura's Wrath to an extent, Heavenly Sword, Ghost of Tsushima, then you can back up your save file and go play those games that give you that sense of like, yeah, this is what I like about samurai and Japanese wind flutes, not the way Ubisoft tells it. I like the way these other companies tell the story. You know, like, just because it's quote unquote canon to this other entity now doesn't mean everything that came before it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. When I was younger, I definitely would have been like, yeah, I get what you're saying, money. I got you. They made this new thing that means that other stuff doesn't exist anymore. That's stupid. How dare they? But like, as I'm older, it's just kind of like, I did not like Jurassic World 3, but I'm staring at it right now with Jurassic World 2, Jurassic World 1, 3, Lost World, and Jurassic Park on top of it. Because those things still exist, so I can always come back to them and enjoy them for what they were. We gonna be alright.
Well, you can, we will, and you can do that. You're absolutely right. But I think that the thing is, um, two things with Assassin's Creed, as you brought up Assassin's Creed, and even arcing it back to Star Wars. It's like I think people want new Star Wars. Everybody was excited when Episode 7 came out, and hell, I mean, they was excited when Episode 8 came out, and then even though Episode 8 was a tragedy, they packed in the movie theaters to go see what Episode 9 was gonna what they was gonna do with Episode 9 and whatever. I think that people want to see continuation. I think people want to see what's next. Even with Boruto, what are they gonna do next with the Naruto story? Even with like Dragon Ball Super, what more can they do with Dragon Ball? Like, people come to these things that they love, and they want to see more of it. Obviously, there's a desire for more of it. If not, nobody would be watching this stuff. So there's a desire for more. But then when they get there and they see what is done with it, and they see that, this is not, you know, Dragon Ball the way it's supposed to be. This is not Star Wars the way that, it was or it's supposed to be. This is not like Naruto and, what, it would, or what it was built up or believed to be, or whatever the case may be. And then again, you get into the subjectivity of it. Um, they feel a kind of way and then see it continuously. Because I mean, the Star Wars movies were a thing, and then people have their arguments of this and that and whatever, rational or irrational about it. And then after the movies came the shows, and then it was like, all right, at some point now, you guys are just you guys are not understanding what's happening here. You guys are giving people projects and things like we haven't had a good Star Wars, even though there's so many shows and movies and this and that and whatever. We haven't had a good Star Wars since like back in the day. So it's like we got all these new movies and shows and whatever. And I mean, every once in a while you get one that creeps through. But I mean, we should be eating good, like you were saying with Spider-Man or whatever, but we're not. We're eating
Yeah,
garbage.
but like, since you guys are eating garbage, if this is the rhetoric that I'm to believe and use, then like, we got writers like you and other people in the space that are writing better stories. They're just not in the spotlight that they want to be in. Everyone wants to make a beeline to Hollywood, but the conditions and criteria to make things out of Hollywood doesn't always lead to the best product or the best results. So you do kind of have to, in some regard, have an independent mindset, even though you want your work to go out to a crowd that is definitely not for like an indie audience type of thing. So you do make your own stories. You do write the things that you want to see in your stories, because like I know you don't like the Rise of Skywalker or whatever one that has it with is it Leela?
Leia?
Yeah. Um so I haven't seen them, but the way you described it to me, even though you don't like them, interested me enough to be like, oh, I think I would give this trilogy of movies a chance. Now again, if I got it from you,
the girl Ray,
yeah,
okay.
who doesn't like it,
Mm-hmm.
being put onto it close enough to start thinking in that direction, then like it can blossom in any shape or form. Or you can write your own stories. That's what I was saying to Mel last time about the whole Game of Thrones thing. I'm not saying you got to stop everything you're doing and start writing a Shakespearean masterpiece, but like if you're that legitimately passionate about it, find ways to get this in front of the people who can do something about it. There's so many ways to do this. Like I don't know, maybe I'm crazy in thinking it that way, but it's just kind of like if I want to see something, I want to see it. And if I can't get it through the source that I'm normally getting it from, then either I become content in what I'm given in that regard. Let's say Boruto, for example. But if I don't want that, okay, then what I can do is I can either write stories about it, I can make little fan fictions, I can do blogs, I can do vlogs, I can have discussion videos about it, right? Like we can make these things happen. We have so much power when it comes to expressing ourselves than we realize. But because we're waiting for the next person down the road to do it, so then we can circle it back to having us be empowered to do it now. It's just kind of like, no, if you really want to do it that bad, go do it right now. Put your money where your mouth is, put your feet to the fire, test yourself, strain yourself, and go and, make something of this thing that you're so passionate about. Like, I'm not saying that like Dragon Ball Z was in the rut or anything when this happened, when I remember finding out about it, but the guy who used to do like the artwork for Dragon Ball AF, which was totally spin-offy, very fan fiction-y, definitely not canon Dragon Ball material, ends up becoming one of the lead artists for Dragon Ball Super. Like it can happen. Okay. Like if you're that passionate about it, that passion will take you far.
Absolutely.
If no one else believes in you, then you can at least believe in yourself. At least you got one person that's got your back like you do. Go out there and do it and be passionate about it. But if you're not that passionate about it and people just like talking about it because other people get to see how emphatic they are about the thing that they like, then you know what? Back up your save file and stick to the remembrance of why you liked that series so much. But like, if you're not willing to work for why something is so passionate to you and show people why you feel that way, it's just kind of like what are you really doing? What are you really screaming about? Because like at some point it stops being cute. It's like, all right, now you just sound like an old man yelling at the clouds. When I stream, I'll talk about certain games, like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example. I'm doing the unboxing. Now, obviously, I'm an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I also play new Yu-Gi-Oh as well. I play both spectrum of it. Game's been around for 20 years. I'm 29 years old. I wanted to learn the game as it went. I took a break from it, came back to it, hit the learning curve. Now I'm back better than ever. But I took it upon myself to want to learn that so I don't find myself in these awkward conversations of not being able to talk to someone about why this game is good and why this game is bad. But no, I got people on the other side of the fence that say, oh, players like you are what holds the game back. But then you don't like the new Yu-Gi-Oh that's here in front of us right now. So you don't like old school players and you don't like new Yu-Gi-Oh. So who are you the audience for Konami? That's not on me to figure out. That I can speculate that, but I'm not the one making the cards, doing the print, doing the ban list, doing the updates and the patches. But you see how it can just ebb and flow? And the only thing that's going to be constant is your passion to it and how you break down your internalization of it. So you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're writing stories. You're thinking about how characters are written, how plot beats are made, how these things all come together in the pot when you stir it all together. But if it doesn't work out from other things that you're seeing, it's okay. It's okay. You can always go back to that thing that you remember that, hey, might even give you some motivation or make you see it differently. Or you'll hear someone else's perspective and opinion of it that goes like, man, I never really thought about it that way. And it kind of bolsters up what I was already working on. And then you apply it to it and then it's something even better than ever. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's echo chambers. Maybe it's advent of online circles, so information just gets out quicker, good information and very stupid information. But it's just kind of like at the end of the day, like I'm in my room right now just talking to you. There's no other influence right now influencing me into what I'm saying. I'm
Hmm.
I'm just talking, you know? I'm not sitting here doing this podcast thinking about, okay, Money said that we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed. Let me start doing some research. Let me start doing some homework. Let me start finding out like all the best talking points to say. Like, no, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, people change, opinions can change, and we can always update ourselves at the end of the day. I may not like Assassin's Creed Shadow right now, but I might get to 55 years old and I finished every game I could ever want, and then I'm just kind of like, huh, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yeah, let's play it. Let's see what this is about. And then I end up liking it. Sucks because I'm like 30 years late to the party, but hey, better to be late than never.
Yeah, that's how
So,
I am. Yeah,
yeah, so,
I'm always late to the party.
me noggin.
Yeah, I'm always late to the party. No, and I mean you're absolutely right. I think that the only thing that I would say when it comes down to that is when I was younger and I first got into fan fiction and like I couldn't find like I would want to read a story about this specific thing or these specific groups of characters doing this or that or whatever. And then my mother told me the same thing. She would be like, or I'll be like, "Mom, I can't find this story. Like, nobody's written this story, and it's kind of frustrating. Or nobody's written it to like the quality or degree of like, that I would read it and enjoy it and whatever." And she'd be like, "Well, then why don't you write it?" And then, so as a creative mind, it's kind of like, yeah, I could do that, but it's no fun for me if I write it because I know what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see how somebody else does it. I want to read it about it, and I want to see how they put the twists and turns and spins
Right,
on it,
but the
and
thing is though,
whatever the case
but
may
the
be.
thing is though, and I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because I had that moment too in my life when I wanted to be a little OC fanfic writer. I hear you, my friend. But the thing is though, sometimes you gotta be the one to raise your hand first, so everyone else behind you and to the side of you can start raising their hand as well. People aren't going to be able to change those merits of the story and the characters unless they see a base work for it first, and you might be the first one for that. One of the things that this reminds me of is when I'm doing photography work and it's time for like group photos. Now, my main camera has a timer, but sometimes I use my other camera which doesn't have a timer. So I unfortunately cannot be in the pictures because I have to be the one to take it. So
Mhm.
even though I'm not there to cement the memory, I'm the one that's there taking it. I go
Yeah,
from being,
you make
yeah,
it.
exactly. So it's like sometimes you have to be in that creative role, and that comes with certain sacrifices, right? But it's only able to exist because you're the one that's doing it. So in this case, yes, you do have to be the one to write those particular stories so someone else could see that and be like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that." But like now that I know that that's out there, what if I spun it like this? And now again, your idea still exists, okay? It's still out there. But now someone has made a variant of it, and whether it's better or not, that thing only came to be because you were the one who did it first because your mom racked your brain about it and you went forward with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about it like that. But yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, that's kind of what like I wanted to do with like Batman. So and with the Yakuza story that I showed you, because it's like everybody said it, but I don't think anybody's really done it. But it's like, dude, why the heck is it Yakuza and like Kiryu's never in the Yakuza? You know what I mean? Like every game he's either outside or he quits or he this or that or whatever. So it's like, yeah, what would a story look like if he was actually in it? But I mean, I guess that kind of buys into like the that kind of goes into like my whole thing about like, all right, listen, don't sit down and try to tell a story if you don't actually have like a story to tell. So I like with the Yakuza thing, like in my mind, I had a story. I have a story to tell. And then also with like the Batman thing, like I feel like nobody's ever like Telltale's done where they tried to capture Bruce Wayne. They want you to feel more like Bruce Wayne instead of Batman. Get into the mind of like Bruce Wayne and Batman more so than just it's just Batman because everybody does Batman. And then I feel like movies and stuff focus on Batman. And I've never felt like anybody has ever really done like a fantastic job of capturing like both and the essence of like both and what that how that uh puts a toll on the man as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I write the Batman story that I got a thing, I want that to be the case of just how this puts its toll on this man, how it takes out of him and this and that and whatever, of how he feels like he has to do this, but he may not want to do this, and times he looks for a way out. I think the closest that really got to it was the Nolan trilogy until they dropped the ball in the third one. But I mean, again, outside circumstances kind of affected that and so on and so forth. So yeah. But if I have stories to tell in those regards, sometimes if it's like I really want to see this story, but I don't have a story to tell. Like there was a time when like, I wanted to know like, what Itachi was like when he was younger in Naruto. But then I mean like they kind of did that with their filler episodes and then the what's it called? The light novel
Mm-hmm.
that kind of covers it. So it's like, okay, good. Glad I didn't do that because then they came out with their own version anyway.
Right, but you can
But
still make your own version of it. Like, I mean, other than like legalities and like trademarks, right? You can technically write the story. It's when you start to get into the business and money aspect of it where it's just kind of like, okay, maybe we have to like rethink this and change some things around to protect yourself legally. But like just because they told the stories of Itachi, like I don't think they nearly got into it as deep as they could have. The light novels did it much better, but the light novels came out after the anime had already finished, so we're already 200-300 episodes past those quote unquote filler episodes of Itachi's story. So the only thing stopping you is you.
true, no, true. And so yeah, that's it when it comes from the storytelling perspective. But I mean, like people get tired of seeing it, uh, you know, be turned into something else. Now, where it comes down to like Assassin's Creed Shadows, um, I feel like that's when people there's a word for it. There's a saying for it, but I can't really come up with it right. That's when people kind of try to like use the smoke screen of we want to protect something, but they're really just trying to. So obviously, that's more about the culture war. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
They
the
feel
culture
like, oh
war.
well,
It's the virtual signaling. Like, remember when people were saying that if you bought Harry Potter, you're going to be a transphobe?
yeah,
And
yeah.
if
I
you
wanted to
bought,
talk about
and if you bought
Hogwarts
Wukong,
Legacy too. Yeah,
you're like
yeah.
some fascist. Like what? This is a game about a monkey king journeying to the west. Stop it. Or Stellar Blade, bro. Nobody in my stream has bothered me about whatever controversies were surrounding Eve in Stellar Blade, because people who are well adjusted enough can look at me and go, yeah, he doesn't seem like he's an istophobe or whatever terms they want to throw. He's just enjoying the game. He's making good points about
Well,
it. He's
no,
saying things that he doesn't like about
yeah,
it, but he's still enjoying the game and he's
mhm,
still giving it its fair shake. Versus people who swing
yeah.
so far to either side where it's just kind of like, why do you feel so strongly about this game? Did this game hurt you? What did Shift Up do to you that makes you feel so It's just like, I don't know. I think it comes down to the person and how they internalize things that just hit their exterior. Like,
Yeah, and
I'm sorry.
it's sad that that's gotten into our it's sad that that's gotten into our medium too. But it's like before there was like a defense of or these people that got big enough to start to try to be like, yo, just balance it out or whatever. Like I remember when Hogwarts Legacy came, and I told you, like me personally, I couldn't give a hoot about Harry Potter. Really, I watched the movies. You know how we grew up in our religious households, and what Harry Potter was not allowed. So I mean, like when I got old enough and then I watched Harry Potter with this girl I was talking to and whatever, I wanted to see what it was about, what I had like missed out on and whatnot.
Hmm.
To me, Harry Potter was just like it was just like, oh, this is Star Wars, except they wanted to do it with wizards. Me personally, that's how I feel about it. So I was like, okay, this is really nothing. And I mean, like, they had like one or two good. I think there's like six movies. They had like one or two good movies, and then the rest of the movies, like I had on in the background and wasn't even fully paying attention to them. So I mean, like it was like, yeah, this is what I missed out on. Like I didn't miss out on anything. But the fact that people love Harry Potter, like I love Star Wars, I can relate. And they've been waiting forever to get like their last Harry Potter games was like on like the PS2. If you're not counting like Game Boy games and Nintendo games and whatever the case may be. So they've been waiting for a long time to get themselves a Harry Potter game, and this was a Harry Potter game that, um, I think it's RPG like. I don't think it's a full on RPG if I'm remembering
Mhm.
correctly. But
Okay.
it's been a long time they've been waiting for it. And then here you come these people who got beef with what's the lady's name? The lady who makes
J.K.
it?
Rowling,
J.K.
which I
Rowling.
have found some crazy revelations about when I was doing a stream, which started. I'll put it this way: at first, it started with jelly beans, and then we got into the controversies of everything that this woman has done. And in my head, behind the soul of my eyes, I'm just like, man, some people just need to decompress. Some people just need to
Yeah, and I mean,
decompress.
and and it's like you gotta know you know what like shooters are gonna shoot and whatever and the street and whatever. But I mean, if you're gonna shoot, like make sure you hit the right person. They got beef with J.K. Rowling, and it's like J.K. Rowling, other than her owning the IP of Harry Potter, is not involved with the game whatsoever. The people who make the game have said J.K. Rowling has nothing to do with this game. The only thing she gets is because she owns the name Harry Potter. That's it. So that's it. But yet they want to punish. And I mean, they. So like, if it was just like, oh, we're gonna this and that, or what, they came up with sites that were gonna get people doxxed. That if they caught streamers playing the game, they'd get doxxed. They like hate mob one for I think it was a couple. They're like a couple. They like stream together. They're a couple,
Hmm.
and I think they ran up on their stream and like hijacked it and just ran up in there with all types of hate messages and this and that or whatever, made a girl cry on stream or made the girlfriend cry on stream and this and that or whatever, like just straight hateful things. These people that they have a history of giving back to the very same people that are out here trying to say that no, they hate us and this and that and whatever. So I mean, like, it got really brutal, and I'm just like, yeah, see, like people are really forcing it over, like,
Yeah, and when it
this
gets to that
video
level,
game.
or at least for me, because I can only speak from my own experiences, but like when it starts to get to that level, it's just like, all right, what are my options? You can mute chat, emotes only, better moderation, because I'm not gonna stand or sit down for that. I'm trying to play a game with a completely different view of like how I want to like just enjoy this game, and you're trying to tell me about the economy of it, and it's just like didn't care, don't ask me. Now again, if I ask for that, right, if I'm just kind of like, okay, what's the pulse on this type of game, right, if I'm genuinely asking that and I want to understand what the controversies are, then okay, sure, we can open up the floor to discussion. But there are just some people who just have very poor social etiquette, very poor social cues, and they just start like just vomiting just all this unasked trivia about it, and it's just like I haven't even pressed start yet. So
Yeah, so I mean, like they get into that, and so like I get it, but I mean, in this instance, this is the other side doing something similar, where it's like in Assassin's Creed Shadows, but they're like, oh, they're disrespecting the history of Japan because they don't have factual, and Yasuke, who is a factual character, is not known enough for him to be this important, and if he was, then he would. So at first the whole thing was, so I'll show you how all of these arguments are mired in ignorance. So the
yeah,
first thing was, I'm gonna be blunt about it. How's this big black dude gonna be stealthy enough to be an assassin in Japan? Which, if you wanted to make that happen, you could obviously make that happen. But they didn't even go that route. So it's like, all right, he's not gonna be the assassin. He's gonna be the brute, and it's a dual protagonist game. And you're like, because they're like, well, we wanted Assassin's Creed in Japan. We've been asking for this. It's print money. All you gotta do is make it happen. So they made it happen, but they're like, they give us the black dude in Japan instead of a Japanese person. So then they solved that problem too by saying you have a Japanese protagonist and she's a shinobi. It's a female. Now let's keep it a buck. They're mad about that because it is a female and not a guy. And so they're like, well, you know, uh, Yasuke isn't really, he wasn't really a samurai in history. They're trying to change history. In every single Assassin's Creed game, history has been played around with. Pause. So you can't really say like, well, game is doing something different than the other games are doing, because it's doing the same thing since the first one, the second one with history in Italy and stuff like that. The third with old American Revolution history, and the fourth with the history of famous pirates and this and that and whatever. They all play loose with history. So I mean, this one playing loose with history is nothing different. So they just complain. What it all really boils down to is they wanted Assassin's Creed in Japan with a samurai, but like you said, Ghost of Tsushima beat them to the punch. So Ubisoft, low key, tried to pander with, all right, let's get ourselves a black protagonist and a female protagonist. And instead, and they left that as like low hanging bait, easy bait. And people bit on it and complained about that instead of complaining about the real problems, the stuff that you said about Ubisoft being too late to the party, and not getting this right and not doing that right, and it being the same thing. And let's talk about these gaming prices and the real problems. They talked about the easy bait, and you know now you're complaining about this and that. Now you look foolish because you got everything you was asking for. You got a Japanese protagonist in Japan. You got a different other kind of protagonist in Japan. He's not an assassin, but you guys are complaining. The people are complaining about it because they didn't get their Japanese male
That's crazy. Because again,
protagonist.
if you wanted your
And
Japanese male protagonist, go play Ghost of Tsushima.
yeah, you gotta go to
Isn't the guy
Tsushima.
in
But
Niho like Irish or something like that in Japan?
yeah,
But
yeah,
people
but
had no problem
they
with that
said, oh well,
because he looked white. Because on the surface level, he looks white. This whole nonsense of
yeah,
credibility through whiteness is absolutely ridiculous, and it sucks that people are still trying to just come at it from that angle. If you don't like that Captain America is black, okay, newsflash, go read the comic books because you're gonna be awfully surprised about how it's been as far back as that time. Okay, like when you have stories, there are always gonna be people that go, but what if it went this way? And then they do it. This is the same thing that happened for Ubisoft. It sucks for them because, like you said, they were super late to the party. But what are your options? You're gonna make another Japanese game with a Japanese protagonist who, on the surface, is just a Japanese, where people are gonna go, oh, so this is basically Ghost of Tsushima. They were gonna get that, whether they did it or not. But they were like, no, what should we do now? So let's take a gamble. Let's play that gambit and let's see what happens. But then what did they start doing? They started using imagery that actually has historical significance, where it's like, hey, you just can't be using that for promotional material to try to entice people to buy this game, because at the end of the day, you can't be using that well, I'm not saying you can't use it, but if we're looking at it from the eyes of the historical ambassadors that they are trying to copy this stuff from, they got rules where they say you shouldn't be using stuff like that, especially if you don't recognize or respect the history that comes from it. But they
yeah,
decide to do it
because
anyways because they're so focused on trying
you're an
to beat them to
outsider.
the punch. Yeah, it's like the fact that I forget how they said it, but like the people on Sucker Punch are ambassadors for like the shrine gates. I can't remember how it was worded, but basically Japan's historical ambassadors honorated the Sucker Punch crew members by making them ambassadors as if they were part of their culture. Mind you now, the people at Sucker Punch aren't all Japanese. I would say it's a very mixed group. But the fact that Sucker Punch did their homework, took their time, respected the material that they were referencing, another country saw that, recognized it, and was like, hey, you're cool, you're invited to the cookout type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And here
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft is trying to do that, where they're like, yeah, let's put a broken gate and have someone sit on top of it in a really cool pose like Batman because he's black. And black is like Batman because he's dark. And you're like, you do realize that gate is actually like a real life thing, right? That people still remember to this day. But, and Ubisoft, none the wiser, is just kind of like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, you're a $1 billion company, you didn't know that? Really, Ubisoft? Really? Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead, make your Japanese game. Go
yeah.
sell,
So that's
go sell
so
gangbusters.
that's what I'm saying. They should be getting mad at the stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like those types of things, not not the easy, or the what you call the low hanging fruit that is, oh, we didn't get the guy in here that we want, or we didn't get the this and that or whatever. Because I think it's cool, you know what I mean? And me personally, who usually struggles to connect with games where like female protagonists. Well, I think it's cool that we got the dual protagonist, and they did that before too. They did it in Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah, and
Where it's like
congratulations,
you got the
Ubisoft. You beat Ghost of Yote to it, but don't be surprised if Ghost of Yote is more interesting and more engaging and better. I'm not saying it is, but if people end up liking that more, I don't want to hear no one saying, "Oh, female samurai shinobis are incredible and viable." Okay, well, Sony did it. After you did it, you had your chance to showcase what you would do when you had to write a female character in this time period, and look back on how well it was received. Just
yeah.
constantly shifting goalposts, man.
I think that, so see, in the interest of, to wrap that all up, but I think in the interest of fairness and calling out when the people who they come out and they talk about the things that going wrong in gaming, and they also talk about the things that they want to talk about and what have you. I think that the what is it, what do you call it, the counterculture in this instance got it wrong with this one. I think that,
Yeah, the same way they got it wrong for
Shadows,
Helldivers. Same way they got it wrong for Kenzera. Yeah. Same way they got it wrong for Stellar Blade.
They jumped on Helldiver. Well, no, see, Stellar Blade is kind of confused.
When we were watching State of Play, people were dropping sleeping emojis, Z's, all these. Oh, this game's gonna be. There's a Helldivers 2. I thought. What happened to the first one? Oh, everyone thought that game was DOA. Yep. Then that game came out and it was a juggernaut until Sony did something stupid and shot themselves in the foot, fell on the floor, and then blew their face off. These people are idiots when it comes to trying to get the beat on whether these games are going to be viable or not. Stop trying to focus on whether the game is going to be good or not, and actually let the thing come, give it a chance as the individual, and then have that conversation. People trying to guess this before it comes, they're trying to do everything but play the game. That's where my brain was going to tie it all back. It is just like, oh my gosh, like Christopher J. Robin.
Yeah, nah.
I'm not ranting. I'm so sorry, guys. Like,
oh, this is what it's for. But nah, you're right on that regard. Yeah, I feel like they got it. Although, yeah, like I was gonna say. Well, I guess we could do this one before we wrap. Because I was gonna say, the Stellar Blade thing confused me. So, you beat Stellar Blade, right?
No, I am still playing Stellar Blade.
Oh, well, you're into it. But the Stellar Blade thing confused me because, from what I understood in the beginning, right, I guess the counterculture just wanted to say, listen, we want to be able to play games with, like, girls that, for lack of a better term, look sexy. Okay, fine, sure. If you want to be able to play games with girls that look provocative or whatever the case may be, but still kick butt and all of that good stuff, then you absolutely should be able to do that. And if you don't like that game or what it represents or whatever, or you don't like it because this girl has certain proportions or whatever, which is counter agreement when they're the ones who want body positivity and all of this nonsense and whatever, then if you don't like that, then you don't have to play that particular game. But not everybody expects, real life women and whatever to look like this anyway. So with that being the case, I thought that the counterculture was all for that game. And in the beginning they were. And then to my understanding, they got mad at the people who made the game because they feel like they caved and censored some outfits, or they got mad at Sony because Sony censored some outfits, or something about somebody censoring outfits, and then the counterculture got mad at the game or something like that.
I'm not sure because, again, I didn't get Stellar Blade to be tapped into that particular part of the conversation, but I know that with the outfits that I do have, there's 3 of them that honestly don't look too bad. They're not overtly revealing. It shows off the features, but it doesn't, at least in my eyes. And maybe that's just because it comes down to the person about how I view women and how I just innately respect them, because, like, that's just what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to respect your other. But, like, it's like there's this one outfit where someone was like, "Oh, I like the skin suit one. It's the best." And I was like, "Oh, I don't have the skin suit. Like, how do I like how does one get that suit?" And they're like, "Oh, just go to the
You
outfit that
just
you're
take
already
everything
wearing
off.
and just press X
Yeah,
and unequip it." And I unequipped it, and I was just kind of
yeah, you
like,
take everything off.
I'm like, ugh, I don't like the way this looks. It looks too fleshy. It looks like a boiled hot dog. But again, because they're trying to be so realistic, you have to unfortunately abide by the rules that come with being in reality. And sometimes reality ain't pretty. So I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't really like this outfit, right? But you would think because of how the counterculture in these news outlets would tell me to like this game that I should be all up in this thing. It's like, no. No, it comes down to the person, and a lot of these people are just pseudo radicalized. And it's like, guys, just did you play the game first before you started going off the handle? I don't think people do that. And then if
No,
they do that, it's
no.
like they do it because they want that reaction. They want that clickable moment. It feels like everyone's just at this race to just be viral, but then have no plan of what to do once they get it. How'd you get famous? I got famous by ranting about Stellar Blade. Oh, so you're gonna do that for like the rest of your career, or are you gonna invest in a Bitcoin? Like, what are your
Well,
options?
they,
What are
yeah, I
your
was gonna
game
say, yeah,
plans? Think it through. Like, you know what I'm
as you
saying?
see,
Like,
as you
and
see
that's
with
what
the
and that's what
Hakuga,
gets me.
that
It's
doesn't
just,
work.
it's
Yeah,
just like, yo, people are
yeah.
turned. People are absolutely turned. So, yeah, I'm enjoying Stellar Blade. If anybody would like to watch me play Stellar Blade, you know where to find me. Bork.
That's that's what's up, homie. And I'm enjoying Assassin's Creed Shadows. If anybody would like to see me, too bad. Unless you know where I live.
He said, "You figure it out." Oh man, absolutely
Yeah, no.
maddening.
That's what we got for today. So
Oh,
grab
that's
to
it?
take us home whenever you're ready. That's it, big dog.
Oh
Yep.
goodness. Well, at 3:19 p.m., the Bible said it was late in the evening. I need all y'all to take a deep breath today. Just please, just take your nose and just, yeah, say it with me. Stay happy, stay healthy. Please, don't do anything we wouldn't do except just be legit. That's all you gotta do. It ain't hard to be yourself. If you can't be anything else, just be yourself. Always keep on being creative. And we will hopefully see you guys in the new schedule in the new month. I have been Marcell.
That's the money green.
And you guys should take a look at Eve's skin suit and tell me what you think in the comments below. Take care, good night, and God bless. Bye. You chose your side, little Padawan.